I bet that the three words that come to your mind when you think about Amazonia are biodiversity, conservation, and pristine forests. That were my first thoughts as well. But I'm going to explain what changed my mind as I tell a story about confluences. My name is Leonardo, and I'm an ethnobotany and genetic researcher from southern Brazil. And in 2012, I experienced a huge confluence in my life that led me to move to Amazonas. And now I'm based in Manaus, where I am a doctoral candidate in the genetics, conservation, and evolutionary biology at the National Research Institute for Amazonia. But does everybody know where is Amazonia? Amazonia is this major darker green area here, and it covers more than 5.5 million of square kilometers, and it sections in 9 countries in South America. And if you see here the star, this star identifies the largest city in the Amazon basin. It's Manaus. Approximately 2 million people live there, and most of them are poor. Manaus is an important city because of the confluence of 2 main rivers. The black area, entering from the right here, is the Negro River, and the brown one from the down is Solimões River. Where they join is called the Meeting of the Waters, o Encontro das Águas. And then the Brazilian Amazon River starts. But that is not the only confluences going on here. A little information about Manaus. The Portuguese founded the city on the major native Amazonian settlement in 1693 and proceeded to eliminate the natives. During the rubber boom, Manaus was one of the richest cities in Brazil, and they built the Amazon Theater. After the boom went dust, the city revived with the Free Zone in 1967, and now it depends upon subsidies from the industrial district that hosts multinational corporations. And this is the city that tourists want to see. This is the city that hosted 4 games during FIFA World Cup. This is Arena Amazonia and its surroundings. But we also have another reality, a reality that's not really beautiful. People living close to rivers in town, with a recent attempt at developing public housing. And in this last picture is the landscape view from my window where I used to live. It is very close to the largest research institute of Amazonia. This is a picture in the Negro River, and it's amazing to swim in this black water. The water is dark because of the dissolved organic matter, mostly of tannins and other organic acids, which lower the pH to 4 or less. At the meeting of the rivers, their waters are so different that it takes about 100 kilometers to mix. It's a question of different acidities, temperature, and sediment content. This confluence is a very beautiful place, and it attracts tourists daily. On the right side, you can see the Negro River, and here on the left side, the Solimões River. But not all of Amazonia is still a rainforest. Across the southern border, here, we can see the development of cities and agriculture, especially pasture and soybean. And those fields are cleared by burning the forest. Let's take a zone in Rondônia state, where the deforestation is a huge issue. It's the result of roads and agriculture for conventional global capitalist model of development. The original means of transportation in Amazonia was by boat, which is still very important in many areas, and sometimes it contributes to the conservation of the forest. In this picture, we can see the extent of the forest before the European conquest. And on this picture, the picture on the left side, we can see the current situation, where the deforestation comes from the south, mostly following the construction of highways and feeder roads. In places where boats are still the main form of transportation, deforestation and development is still limited. Here you can see the boats and the hammocks that we use to sleep during trips. In this last photo is our team, our work group, going to a field to collect. One of our main goals is to show that what it was considered pristine forest actually was actively managed in some degree by the native Amazonians. So we study the confluence between humans and plants and the way that they enriched the forest. But how does this management of the landscape works? This is a typical house of a traditional family living in Amazonia. Around the house, there are basically three main levels of landscape management. The home garden or backyard, where they keep fruits and vegetables, peppers and other seasonings. The Sweden area, which is slashed and burned for family plantations. They usually grow 3 or 4 different crops in 1 hectare or 2, and the larger plantations are for manioc. And in a larger scale, we have the forest management, which occurs during hunting and gathering expeditions. Usually they camp for a week or more, and they actively manage the landscape around the camping. Amazonian current population is quite diverse, with millions of modern immigrants who have no idea how to live in Amazonia without deforestation. In contrast, traditional riverside communities are composed of a mixture of indigenous and hybrid inhabitants who still use the knowledge created by native Amazonians over millennia, although much of that was lost during the European conquest. Tribal organizations are based on community, and usually they have this main square in the center of the community where they gather for meetings, festivals, and rituals. Around this center area, they have their houses, in which they also have their home gardens, and they also have the small middens for waste management. This is the garden area, which can be up to 1 hectare per family. Around the garden area are the Sweden area of about 15 hectares per family, and it's managed sequentially over time. And all around this, we have the managed forests, which they hunt and collect anything they might need. And we expect that 150 hectares per family is probably a good area for forest management. Some researchers believe that the total area of managed forest in Amazonia is about 4.5 million square kilometers. It is about 80% of Amazonia. It's approximately equivalent of the area of the European Union. Can you imagine a forest this large being managed? How do we know that? We know because we have domesticated forest landscapes. It's the confluence of people and their forest, where people select plants to reproduce, creating a forest rich of useful plants for human beings. And these occupy the majority of the area. The important forest types are dominated by a single species, including Brazil nut stands, the Brazilian nuts, and its density is across 300,000 kilometers square. And also acai stands, these trees here, this palm tree, which is the most abundant tree in Amazonia. Here I have other examples of anthropological forests, in which some are edible fruits, as cacao, tucumã, babaçoal, and some of them are oil seeds, like caioesal and piquezal. But differently from what most people think, Amazonian soils are not rich in nutrients. They are very poor. And once you cut the forest, the nutrients are quickly eroded. So conventional monoculture are generally not a good idea in this region. However, there are some anthropogenic soils. They are called Amazonian dark earth, or terra preta de índio in Portuguese, in which they are rich of charcoal, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and it's an evidence of the human occupation of these areas. These dark earth areas, they represent the medians of the tribal villages from the past. The patterns of these pottery fragments give us important information to identify the lineage of the people who used to live in these places. And they are almost always found in anthropogenic landscapes with terra preta de índio. But not only did native Amazonian domesticated enormous landscape areas, they also domesticated numerous plant population. We believe that at least 83 species of plants have domesticated populations in some degree before the European conquest. Domestication is a confluence process, which you have a coevolutionary process where humans select and reproduce desirable features, for example, fruit size and flavor. In this picture, we have the tree gourd. It's called cuia in Portuguese. It is an example of technological plant that was selected for the use of the rind, to use it as a bowl instead of using the fruit pulp. Cuia was very important as a dish for daily life and in ceremonies. But they are also important for bailing water out of canoes and scooping manioc flour from the oven. Other uses of the cuia were lost to the use of plastic or metal pots. And this is the fruit I'm working with. It's called biribá, and it's a member of the Annona family. Annona family, they have custard apple, cherimoya, and soursop. Maybe you are familiar with one of these. And on the right side, on the left side, I have a wild one, a wild fruit, and on the left side, the domesticated one. The domestication of biribá led to the dependency of humans. This occurs when the plants do not survive without human management. Biribá is found only in home gardens and Swedens, but not in the agroforests. In the Sweden, it usually lives up to 7 years. But here in this picture, you can see a tree that it is 40 years old. But how come this tree is so old? This tree here was planted in the Amazonian dark earth. As I said, a domesticated landscape rich of nutrients. To finish my presentation, I would like to raise a final question. What kind of food production system we should adopt to contribute to Amazonian development in a way that we keep respect for the forest and for its people? I don't think the best answer is the large-scale agriculture. And the main idea is that In order to work with sustainability and conservation in Amazonia, we really need to listen to those who live in this confluence, the people in the forest. And that's my message. Obrigado. Goodbye.